Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I can't believe October is over and it's mid-November as I'm filming this because of course I never met my deadlines, obviously. But October was such a cozy month full of spooky reads, warm drinks, and of course so many nights spent under the blanket. I ended up reading 8 books this month and I cannot wait to talk to you guys about them. The ones I loved and the ones that were not quite it. Still, it was such a fun and cozy time, and I'm so excited to share with you the books that I did get to read. So grab yourself something warm to drink and let's get into my October wrap-up. Alright, so this is how we are going to do it. We will talk about the books that I finished from my lowest rated to my favorite book of October. I think that's gonna be so much fun. Alright, so we are going to get into the books that I did get to finish this month. And I'm gonna start, as I already said, with the book that I like the least. And I'm not gonna lie, I had such an amazing reading month because even my lowest rated book this month was a 3.5 stars. And I had so many amazing, wonderful reads. I've been going through a little bit of a reading slump. I never stop reading, but there's a time when I stop enjoying what I'm reading. And I think that the month of October was a great opportunity to go back, to step back a little and find books that I really could enjoy. So the first book of the wrap-up is going to be The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. Now, although I rated this book 3.5 stars, I think it was a little bit of a disappointment because I read House of Hunger by the same author earlier this year in July, and I thought it was one of the best books that I have read this year. I am so impressed at how different they felt because in House of Hunger, you get a lot of feminine rage and you get a lot of sisterhood, women fighting for their freedom. And in this book, I just didn't get that. I just didn't vibe with this book. All right, so this book follows Emmanuel. Emmanuel lives in a very strict cult-like religious town ruled by a prophet. So one night she gets lost in the woods in a forest that people think is haunted or something like that by the spirits of witches. And she actually comes across with these 4 witches that were burned a very long time ago. And that night she discovers that there is something that links these witches with her dead mother. And she starts unraveling that very mysterious past of her mother because her mother, a lot of people suspect that she was a witch. She died the night she gave birth to Emmanuel. And there is a lot of mystery surrounding this woman's life and death. So after this encounter with the witches, something weird starts to happen in Bethel, which is the town where Emmanuel lives. And she knows that she was the one who started this curse in some way. So in a journey trying to discover why these witches chose her to start this curse and why she might be related to the solution and how she can stop this curse. Well, I just didn't buy the journey. I just didn't like it. I wanted more because every single time I read a witch's book, I feel disappointed because I want a very strong women fighting, and Emmanuel did. I just didn't like it. Okay, it was a really good story. That's why I gave it 3.5 stars. It's just that I didn't feel any different from other stories that I have read. You get what I mean? Next up, we have another book that I rated 3.5 stars, and it's a middle grade. One of the only 3 books that I got to read physically this month, and that is The Peculiar Incident of Shady Street by Lindsay Currie. So this story follows Tessa after she moves from Florida to a little town in Chicago with her parents. Since the very first moment she enters the house, she starts noticing very weird stuff happening. Like she can hear like people crying. She starts finding drawings that she didn't make. And there is a lot of weird stuff going on. She ends up discovering that there is a ghost in her house and she needs to find out why the ghost is there, what does it want, and how she can get rid of it. And she actually actually ends up making friends in the journey and they end up helping her. It's a very cute book about friendship and loneliness and accepting changes. Since this is a middle grade, a book about accepting change and seeing the bright side on when you have to change your life, when you have to move away. I think it's a very important theme and I really like that. My problem with this book is that this is the third Lindsay Currie I read, and to be completely honest, this is nothing against the book. It's just that since this is the third book I read from this author, I just don't like the story because I feel like this is just like the other two books that I read from her. I don't know, it's like if I read this one first, I probably would have liked it, but since this is the third book I have read and they are all similar to me, they are so interchangeable, I just don't like that, and that's why I gave it 3.5 stars. Although I enjoyed the story, but it felt so repetitive because the other two Lindsay Curries that I have read feel the exact same way. That's that. So the next book in the wrap-up is going to be Sheets by Brenna Thummler? I think it's Brenna Thummler. Anyway, this is a graphic novel. Very, very cute artwork. Very, very stunning. Like, it's really stunning artwork. I love the color palette that the illustrator chose for this one. It is visually, it is so stunning. I rated this book 4 stars. This graphic novel follows Marjorie, a girl who is grieving her mother while running the laundromat of her family, and they are struggling. I mean, not only she's grieving, but the business not doing too well. She's been dealing as well with a very nasty man who wants to buy the laundromat to build a spa or something like that in there, and she's having all of these struggles in her life, and when she's struggling the most, she finds a ghost living in the laundromat, and this is the ghost of a boy. I think he's her age. Although he causes her a lot of trouble, he ends up helping her save her family business, and I think that he also helps her accepting her mother's death. It's just a very cozy, spooky book, and it talks a little bit about unexpected connections, friendship, loneliness, and I really think it's a very nice book. I ended up rating this one 4 stars. I will actually recommend everyone to read it. It's very cute. Next up, we have another graphic novel that I rated 4 stars. And the next book is Hollow by Shannon Waters, Branden Boyer-White, and Berenice Snell. This one, I really liked it. This is another case where the artwork is fantastic. The coloring of this book is just like, it's screaming fall. Like, really, it's screaming fall. Izzy Crane moves into Sleepy Hollow, and she very quickly gets pulled into the town's obsession with Headless Horseman legend. And in that journey of like accepting that she's in a town where she never asked to move to, she starts meeting people who are actual descendants of the original characters. I mean, they are descendants of the people who inspired the characters of the book of The Legends of Sleepy Hollow, and a lot of weird stuff starts happening throughout town. Like, a lot of weird things happen, okay? Really weird. Izzy will make friends at her school, and they will try to this one gives me Scooby-Doo vibes, because Izzy and her friends will try to find out what is going on, what's happening, why the weird stuff that has been happening are in some way related to the Headless Horseman legend. And it's a very funny time. There is a cute little sapphic romance in this book, and I don't know, I just think it was very cute, spooky, very autumnal, and the atmosphere is really autumnal, so I really think that you should read this one. The next book is another middle grade by Lindsay Currie, and I rated 4 stars. This book is Scritch Scratch. Claire recently moved to a small, well, not very small town in Chicago with her parents because her father is writing a book about ghosts of Chicago, and then one night she's been forced by her father basically to help him in the ghost tour, and basically that's what he's doing nowadays. While he's writing his book, he's giving people tours in a bus, and they are taking tourists to haunted locations or where legends have been born around town. And she sees a little boy sitting in the bus with no company, no adults by him. And this is another book where with her friends she will try to find out who this boy is, because something follows her home. Like this boy, she sees him for the first time in the bus, but then it seems that he followed her home and she starts seeing him everywhere. So she will try to find out who is him and why he's following her. Like, what does he need? And I really loved The Girl in White by Lindsay Currie, but then every single book that I have read from there is extremely similar. It's pretty much the same. So I think that I'm gonna try to read other middle grade authors, and I'm gonna give Lindsay Currie a break just because of that. But it was very good. This is the second Lindsay Currie that I read, and maybe that's why I gave it 4 stars. Again, with an author that repeats their themes and their plot lines very often, the rating that you give their books depend on the order you read them, because it might be funny, right, the first time, but then the second, third time, fourth time you're reading the same storyline, it just starts getting repetitive and you might not like it just as much as the first time. All right, so at this point we are going to talk about my top 3 books of the month, which I am extremely excited about because these books really they really pulled me out of that reading slump I was on, and they reminded me of why I love reading spooky books during the month of October. I really love them. So next up we have Breathe In, Bleed Out by Brian McAuley, and this book is a slasher thriller. It's a slasher book. I have had such a horrible experience reading slashers in the past. Every single time I read a slasher, I end up feeling horrible because I love slasher in movies, but for whatever reason I tend to feel that slashers work so much better on films than they do in books, because in books they feel like thrillers. In movies they're horror movies, right? They're horror movies, but when you read that in books it feels a little bit thriller-ish and it's not as horrifying. But Breathe In, Bleed Out, I think did everything well. I really loved it. So in this one we follow a woman named Hannah. She is a little traumatized because almost like a year ago she went on a trip with her fiance, with her boyfriend, and he proposed to her during that trip, but he died during that trip, and no one really knows what happened, like the exact details on how he died. He even disappeared. His body was never found, and we start suspecting that something weird really happened in that trip, something that she is not telling. That's where the thrilling part comes in the book. Then her friends invite her to a spiritual retreat guided by a very weird guru called Pax. She's very, very calm. At the very beginning, everything is yoga, sound baths, and a lot of calming music, right? And organic food and everything. But then things start to derailing from there. Like weird stuff starts happening, and her friends start being picked off one by one. And the ending is a little surprising. Honestly, I was not expecting it. And I really loved the setting, the writing, the deaths were really gory. And the ending was very surprising. Like it's a slasher where I didn't get who was the killer, and I really like that. It is safe to say that this is the best slasher I have read. This one was amazing. So highly recommend. So in my top 2 of the month, we have Julie Chan is Dead by Liann. And I am so shocked to say this because I picked this book up because I knew it was going to be good and I knew I was gonna like it. A lot of booktubers that I love and follow and like really trust were recommending this book, and I was like, you know what, let me just see. And from moment 0 of the audiobook, I was already enjoying the writing. I was already enjoying the quirky tone of the book. And this book is so special because it starts really quirky, really witty, funny, and then let me tell you, it derails from there, okay? Everything starts going down. In this one, we follow Julie Chan. She is a struggling supermarket cashier who has a twin sister named Chloe, and Chloe is an influencer. They were separated when they were really, really young because their parents died in a car accident. And then Julie was taken care of by her aunt, I think. Yeah, I think her aunt basically like adopted Julie because they were put into adoption, but a couple from New York adopted Chloe, but they just wanted one. So this is when Julie had to go with her aunt. So one day, Julie goes visit her sister, although they didn't have a good relationship. She just goes there because she receives a very weird call from her sister and she missed it. And then she's like, okay, this is weird. Let me just go New York and see what's going on with Chloe. She finds her sister in her apartment, right? She finds her dead. And this is when she decides, okay, I'm just gonna say his body right here, it's me. I mean, this body is Julie and I'm Chloe. I'm gonna live in this fantastic life because once she got into the apartment and she saw all the luxury and all the wonderful things, material stuff, and all the things that she could take from this life, she was like, you know what, I'm just gonna pretend I'm my sister and Julie Chan is dead. And that's when things start going crazy because she starts learning a lot of not so good stuff from the influential world, from the influencers world. And then in a 1-week retreat, she goes with Chloe's influencers friends. She starts discovering a lot of lies, the real reason why her sister died, and she thinks that someone in that circle might be the killer. And this is a very fantastic book. It is really light at the very beginning. Again, it's really funny. You think you're reading a comedy or something, and a satirical novel about influencers and that kind of stuff, but then it gets really dark. I think that if you liked Bunny by Mona Awad, you will really like this one because there is a point in the book where it gave me so strong Bunny vibes. I was like, oh my god, this feels like Bunny. If you really liked Bunny, you probably should read this one. And I think you will like it. All right, finally, I am so surprised myself to say that my favorite book of the month was Cackle by Rachel Harrison. Do I really need to say that this one was a 5 stars? Oh my god, I'm so surprised because I've been wanting to read this book since I think 2023 or something. That's when I started seeing it in my radar, but I never quite really wanted to read it until this year. I ended up loving every single second. I listened to the audiobook in less than 24 hours. I was obsessed. I didn't want to stop listening to it. So this book for me represents what a perfect October book is. What is the perfect book to read during October? It's spooky, it feels cozy, it has a lot of fall-ish atmosphere. So, oh my god. So in this one, we are following a woman named Annie. She doesn't know how to make friends. She doesn't have any friends to begin with, and she doesn't know how to make any new friends. But when the book starts, she moves to a very small, picturesque town because she broke up with her boyfriend. Well, her boyfriend broke up with her or something like that, but the thing is that they broke up and she's feeling extremely sad, extremely tired. So she decides to move to a very small town, start from zero basically, and try to forget her ex. She's really hurt. So once she moves to this small town, she meets a very mysterious woman named Sophie, and she sees how everybody either admires Sophie or fear her. And for Annie, who doesn't have any friends, and these women, Sophie, approaches her and wants to be her friend, she's like, okay, this is weird. And why is everybody either scared of you or treat you like a goddess? Why? Needless to say, Sophie she has a secret, okay? She has a secret. She doesn't want to tell Annie, and Annie will have to find out herself. And at the same time, she starts seeing a lot of spiders everywhere, and her fears start fading and her confidence start growing. And I think so weird because every single good thing that has been happening to her is related to this woman Sophie, right? So I love this book. I can't stress this enough. This book is extremely cozy, witchy, and empowering, and it's about finding yourself after a heartbreak, which I found to be a very interesting theme. I haven't read a lot of books about this, at least not horror books about this, about regaining power after you break up with someone. And I think that if you liked Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson, you probably will like this one because this is another time where I felt, oh my god, this book is so similar to something else I have read, but this one I liked better. Definitely. I think that if you read Bloom and you enjoyed it and you really liked it, you will like this one. You will like this one as well because it follows like the same kind of line. I like this one a lot more than Bloom because Bloom ended up being a little way too disturbing for my taste. Like I like horror, but I like cozy horror and horror comedy, but I don't like when it gets disturbing to a point that I'm like I'm reading but I don't want to. And Bloom was a little bit like that. I think I ended up giving Bloom 3 stars, and this one is a 5 because it was cozier, it was so much more atmospheric, and it had a point. Like the story was being told with an idea in mind, with a message in mind. It wanted to convey something. It wasn't just like we're telling a horror story, but we want people to learn from it. And I really like that. And that's everything I read in the month of October. I feel so happy to have read these amazing books, to have listened to these fantastic audiobooks. Such a cozy and spooky time. Let me know which ones you have read, or if there's any specific book that you would like to read, or if there's any specific book that you would like to pick up while we are still in fall. And as always, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. I really, really wanted to thank you. And I'll see you in the next one.